It's a Mental Health Chat Monday, Season 2, everybody. This is a series where we sit down with a brand new guest every week to discuss their journey with mental illness and mental wellness. I am your host, DDare Bionic. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We are here with a narcissism coach, someone I just met. I'm so glad we finally got to nail down this meeting and this chat. Joy is here today. How are you, Joy?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Darius?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Once this here coffee is more like in this region, I'll be even better. But it's a great day.
I love your nails.
Thank
I love
you
your
so
nails
much.
and I love your beard. It's so cute.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So tell the people a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your backstory.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Joy. Once again, I'm 33 years old. I am a narcissist abuse coach. So I've been dealing with narcissists since 2006, and since 2017, I have been helping people heal, move on, and recover after dealing with narcissistic abuse. So that's a little bit about myself.
Oh my God, yes. So what got you into this particular lane of mental health coaching?
Yeah, so basically, I had an aunt that I lived with for 5 years when living in California. She was a narcissist, unfortunately. And also while living with her, I started dating a male narc, and it turns out that he was a narcissist. But the unfortunate part, but I guess maybe it's a catch-22, but I found out that both of them were narcissists after the fact, like after I, decided to go no contact, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
And then also, dealing with the borderline for 4 months. Thank God it was only for 4 months. It wasn't years with that. I learned my lesson. But yes, after dealing with all the pain, the hurt, and the agony, I was just wondering, like, okay, what am I going to do with myself, And I just really didn't have an outlet to talk to anybody or to heal or to like share my story. And so I went on to YouTube. I was a little nervous. I felt embarrassed. I felt humiliated. I didn't know how it was going to be perceived, but I said, you know what, if I share my story, maybe it's going to help someone else. And so I did that, and here I am today.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
The whole point of this podcast specifically, so I suffer with depression and generalized anxiety, but mostly depression. I just turned 30 this year. So as I've gotten older, my depression and my struggle with it, the thing that has helped me the most in healing is talking about it. So I'm so glad that your immediate thing was to go to YouTube and talk about it, because we don't talk about it enough, especially narcissists. Like they don't get, we don't know how to identify it. So let's get into a little bit of that. What is your, I guess, what would you consider the basic traits of a narcissist?
Yeah, so the basic traits is someone who's very self-centered. They have a high sense of self-importance. They need access of attention, more than the average human being, because we all want attention, right? But with a narc, they need excessive attention, And they lack empathy. They don't take accountability for their actions. They will, when you're meeting them, they'll begin to belittle you, demean you, degrade you, and bully you, essentially. That's basically what a narcissist is, pretty much.
Wow. So when it comes to identifying a narcissist in a relationship and trying to get out of that relationship, what advice would you give the folks out there?
So if a person is trying to get out of a relationship with a narcissist, just recognize you can't change them. The way that they're treating you, that's who they are. It's a personality disorder, So you have to accept it, and you have to accept that you can't change them. And then you have to take the action steps to get support and to make a plan to move on and to become independent of this narcissist, because the whole point is they like to keep their victims codependent on them, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, financially. And so you really have to begin to break free, to reclaim your identity, reclaim your sense of self and your self-worth, essentially.
Okay, so you said narcissism is a personality disorder. So give me do you have the not scientific, but the definition of a
definition? You know what? I had it. Let me see something real quick. Actually, yeah. it's kind of like my own particular definition, but
Mhm.
basically, it's like a sense of entitlement. Basically, they have a sense of entitlement. But I think that they basically say they have a false sense of self. They have a high sense of self-importance and stuff like that. And essentially it's like narcissism. It's kind of turned into narcissism where everything is like solely focused on them, self-centered on them, self-importance, which yeah, we all want to be important. We all want attention, but it's like when it's excessive and you're hurting other people for your
Mhm.
own personal gain, then that's where it becomes toxic and hurtful to others.
Yeah, it's like teetering on that borderline of what is healthy
Yeah.
self-importance and what is
Yeah. Over the
harmful.
top. Yeah, exactly. Correct.
So
So
can
I
you
hope that
dive
was
a
helpful.
no, that was yeah, that was perfect. Can you
Okay.
dive a little bit more into your background with narcissists? I know
Yes.
you just talked about, with your aunt and a former partner, but have you had any other experience with narcissists, or how was handling those relationships? How did that affect you mentally?
Oh yeah. So I actually did. I was dealing. So I had my aunt that was a narc, and then I dated a male narc, and then as I mentioned, I dated a borderline. So real quick, a borderline is a person they have unstable moods, unstable behaviors, and unstable relationships. So that was for 4 months. But I actually recently, this was about 2 years ago, so it wasn't too recent. But I was actually in a relationship with a person that their mother was a narc, a malignant narc. So that's a person that has antisocial personality disorder behavior. But essentially, how that affected me, and not in a good way, to be honest. I was depressed, like yourself.
Mhm.
I had anxiety. I was fearful. I was unsure of the future. I didn't know why I had to suffer so much. I was, even angry at God for a very long time. And I was like, God, why did I have to suffer? But God kind of revealed to me that, it was for a purpose, for me to share my story with other people. And I'm like, okay, God, but did it have to hurt that bad? I'm just saying.
Right. You ain't had to thumb me down like that. Hold on, wait a minute. You could have taught me the lesson a different kind of way.
Right. But no, ultimately, yeah, no, it made me, scared to open up to people, scared to trust people, scared to trust myself. I was fearful that I was going to be alone forever, that, I wasn't good enough, I wasn't worthy. But essentially, that was just thoughts that was coming in my mind. It wasn't really true, but due to the trauma, due to the abuse that I experienced, and the trauma bonds and stuff like that, that kind of made me feel that way. So that's how it affected me.
Got you. Yeah. So you said something while you were talking about a malignant narc. That is a
Yes.
term I've never heard before. Can you
Mhm.
go a little bit more
Yeah.
into that?
So essentially, yeah, a malignant narc. Oh my God. I know this is bad, but they're antisocial, they're
Hmm.
super controlling, and they're very, very codependent, just like a regular narc. But with them, they're very antisocial. They're very overt. They're overt with their abuse because you
Hmm.
have covert narcs where they're very passive aggressive. Kind of like come off like, oh, I'm just like regular human beings, but deep down they're not. But
Hmm.
with a malignant narc, you may kind of see like, oh no, like is something wrong with them? I need to stay away from them. I need to protect my energy. And usually I don't get into names. I never share, specific people that I've dealt with. But the person that I was with, I will never forget this because the person's mother had a daycare, so she was a business owner. And I remember at times when we would pull up to the daycare, my body, my abdomen would actually, it was like an alarm system was going off. Like it was like the inside of me was saying like, stay away, like be careful, like harm.
Yeah,
So
like that
like,
intuition.
yeah, like my intuition was telling me like, no, this person is unhealthy, like you got to get away. But unfortunately that situation didn't go as I thought, but it was like it worked out for the best. But yeah, a malignant narcissist, they're very, very dangerous.
Hmm.
They could cause a lot of harm mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and yeah, they're dangerous. But like I said, they're antisocial. So you don't really see them with a lot of people at
Hmm.
all. They're very they have it's like a cult. Like when you're dealing with narcissistic family members and other people that could be narcissistic,
Hmm.
especially if it's a family dynamic, it's like a cult that you're in. And I feel like that person was trying to get me to be a part of that cult, and I did not allow myself to be a part of it. I'm like, no, ma'am, I'm good.
No, that's not for
Yeah,
me, but thanks
yeah,
for
yeah.
asking. You know,
So hopefully that answered the question.
yes, beautifully, beautifully. I can't personally say that well, I might have and not really even known it. I've never dated, thankfully, a narc,
Yeah.
or been so closely involved. But I had a question and it just flew out of my head
It's
immediately.
okay.
Oh my God. Oh yes. Okay. So I was gonna ask. So being in relationships and having family members who are narcissists, who are toxic in that way, what are some steps that folks can take to once they've removed themselves from the situation to heal from that and kind of realign themselves with the non-narcissistic society?
Oh yeah. So basically, for one, unfortunately, they either gonna have to limit the contact or go full blown no contact, and
Mhm.
then they're gonna have to start doing self improvement, self discovery, learning about independence, self reliance, and being able to fend for themselves. Because when you're dealing with toxic family members or partners or even friends, they make you codependent on them, like I said, in every way, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, financially. So you're going to have to learn, like, okay, I can make my own decisions, I can do things on my own without needing reassurance from someone else. Like, yeah, you get help and support, but at the end of the day, you should be able to make your own decisions. Now, I do recommend doing some form of like counseling or therapy. Highly, highly recommend, because you're going to be lost, you're going to be feeling confused and fearful and unsure of, like, okay, am I going to be able to make it without my family? Am I going to be able to make it without my partner? That type of thing. And then also practicing, of course, self-care, self-love, so that means spending time by yourself or spending time with people that are like-minded. Now, I know you said non-narcissistic society, so joining support groups and stuff like that, being around people that may have similar interests or maybe have gone through a similar experience, or
Mhm.
people that are just healthy, and meaning like they support you, they care about you, they listen, they're empathetic, they have empathy, sympathy, they're not judging you, blaming you, trying to make you feel bad, and stuff like that. But you have to take time, because I know for me it was hard to trust people, so I had to go slow. But the beautiful thing about it, though, I could tell you that maybe I had like maybe one or two good, decent friends after I separated myself from the male narc and from my aunt. So that was what literally I did. For one, I spent time alone. I started doing yoga. That's a really good thing. A lot of people can do, like meditation and stuff like that. Also, close to God, like reclaiming your relationship with God. Like, God has been everything to me. Even now, it's like, I just, I love how God just made me just so reliant on him for everything. Like, God is my provider, my protector, my defender. And I just felt like after dealing with these narcs and the toxic people, I just grew so much closer to God. So I don't know, maybe if that was kind of a blessing in disguise that it all happened that way. But yeah, that's essentially like what a person could do. So I know that was like a handful, but yeah.
No, yeah, that was perfect. That
Yeah.
was perfect. I think it's beautiful when people take the healing journey and they really start to understand and learn themselves. It's really, really difficult to navigate life after you've been traumatized, and having a
Absolutely.
support group, having a system, having a connection with your higher power
Yes.
that's such a beautiful thing to me.
Mhm.
Um, so um, the I think the biggest thing that not biggest thing, but one of the things you just kind of mentioned was therapy. And that is a great moment for us to take a break and hear a word from our sponsor, which is going to be BetterHelp. Today's episode of Mental Health Chat Monday is brought to you by BetterHelp. With BetterHelp, the world's largest 100% online therapy service, you can get connected with a therapist and a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists to help you with a wide range of issues. When I signed up for BetterHelp, I was able to specify exactly what I was looking for in a therapist, and I was matched with a therapist that suited my needs. To get started, all you do is answer a few questions about your therapy needs and preferences. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the perfect therapist from their network. From there, contacting your therapist is easy. Call, chat, video call, or text, whatever is more comfortable for you. Message your therapist at any time to set up live sessions when it's convenient for you. And the coolest thing about BetterHelp is that if your therapist doesn't match for any reason at all, you can switch to a brand new therapist at no additional charge. Affordability, online access at your own pace, custom pick therapists. That sounds like my kind of therapy. And what luck you have. You can get 10% off your very first month of BetterHelp using my link, betterhelp.com/MHCM. That's betterhelp.com/MHCM. Now go ahead and get yourself some therapy, baby. And thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Thank you so much to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. Check the link down below to do all the stuff that I just said in the thing. You heard it. So getting back to our conversation, so you have an LLC. It's Live Narc Free LLC. How did you go about establishing that?
Yeah, so I went about establishing it. Actually, the guy that I was dealing with, he actually was the one that's like, oh, you have your business going, you should get an LLC and stuff like that. And so that's kind of like what was the inspiration. But I just knew, just for security reasons and just to protect, my brand and stuff going forward, it's good to get a LLC and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it came about. And it's good because, it's professional, you're official. So yeah, it's basically how it came about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what services do you personally offer as far as narcissism coaching?
Yeah,
Awareness abuse coaching, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do many different services. I do 90-day coaching programs. I do support sessions, just if a person needs a listening ear. But in regards to the 90-day coaching program, it's more so, so I have two programs called Overcome Narcissistic Abuse and Overcome CPTSD, where I deal with, one of them is one-on-one, and then I actually had another one. It was a group coaching where we all just kind of we talk and we have weekly sessions. We also do weekly worksheets, but we work together for a 90-day period. So that way, if it's overcoming narcissistic abuse, so we talk about what happened during the first month, and we just kind of discuss our feelings, just gain awareness, gain understanding, comprehensive of everything. And then that second month, then we decide, okay, this is my specific concern, whether it's codependency or if it's loneliness or if it's depression. And then we kind of form a plan on how we can work through that to overcome those particular steps specifically for that particular person, right? And then that third month, that's when they take action, they're seeing the results, they're seeing the improvements, and then they're just kind of continuing, the same routine, the same plan that they set for themselves in that second month. So it just continues on the third month. Now if they need more time, that's totally fine. We can extend it, but it's just kind of giving them like a blueprint and a roadmap to that recovery for overcoming narcissistic abuse and or this PTSD or CPTSD, right? And now I also do have, so I have the group coaching. I actually have courses too. So I have self-study courses as well. I have, identifying a narcissist, empath's guide to dating after narc abuse, because, a lot of people could be empathic and, right. And dating, after, narc abuse could be a challenge. So, I kind of that's another course. But I do have many courses. It's on my website. So if anybody wants to look more into that, they can check it out there. Now, I actually do have readings as well. I know everybody has different opinions about that, but I use my readings for advice, clarity, and confirmation for, the person that wants it. So we do have that available. So those are the actual services that I provide. Now, I do have another self-study option, which is my book called Reclaim Your Life Back. That's more so of a self-study, self-help worksheets, tool guide, again, to help, the particular victim and or survivor, move on, heal, recover, and just to learn the information about narcissistic abuse and how to move forward accordingly. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. I love that you offer readings also. I read just a little bit. I'm just dibbling and dabbling, and it is a very powerful tool to get some clarity and some understanding on where you are in life.
Yes, absolutely. Sure. And I was going to say, you're welcome to get a copy if you like, or anybody else watching. You never know who it could help or who it can inspire. So You're
Yes,
more than welcome to
absolutely.
do that.
Yeah, I will link all of the information down below in the
Yes.
description box. I just have a couple more questions for you
Yes, go
before I
ahead.
let you go.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
so one question that's kind of not one of my general ending questions. This whole time I've kind of, we talked about healing from narcissists, but how can a narcissist identify themselves and seek help? Is that something that they would even do,
Ooh.
or
That's a good question. I actually had two people that reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, Joy, I think I might be a narc. Like, what do you think?" And I told them, I said, usually people that come to me, they are victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse, but not necessarily a narc.
Mhm.
So I would say maybe one person could have had the tendencies, but I don't really think he was a narc. And the reason why I say that is because narcissists usually don't admit that they have
Mhm.
a problem. They don't admit like, hey, that was wrong. They don't take accountability. They don't say, oh, that was a mistake. I'm sorry. I hurt you. Can you please forgive me? You don't have to like have me in your life, but that was wrong. What I did. Narcs don't do that. Now the only case, small percentage, if a narc does admit to something or maybe quote unquote changes, is if they have like a midlife crisis. But at the same time, they're going to still revert back to their old ways. So it's like you don't really see the change or the difference. So essentially, narcs don't change. And yeah, I hope that answered the question, right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You know, I always and I figured that they aren't the type of people that would go and seek help and be like,
Yeah,
I'm a narcissist. Like
yeah.
they
And,
because it's
and
right to them.
Right. And no, that's what I was going to say. So, like I said, the one person that reached out to me, he said he thinks he's a narc. I was like, no, you're not. You just need some counseling, some support, But like I said, the other person, I felt like had the tendency because he was telling me some of the things that he would do. And I read off, the characteristics and the trait of a narc. And I was saying, like, okay, do you have this? Do you have that? Just kind of going down the line. And they said, like, if you have like 5 or more, then, the person is considered a narc. And I think because this was like last year, and I don't know if he had like maybe 4 or 5. So I don't know. I just feel like he had the tendencies, but usually full-blown narcs do not claim there's anything wrong. So, I think he was just had the tendencies, if anything.
Yeah. Heard that. Okay, so
Yeah.
here on Mental Health Chat Monday, we have a motto, and that is turning mental illness into mental wellness. What is your definition of mental wellness?
So I was actually thinking about that mental wellness. I feel like, it's basically a way that you can manage and nurture and maintain your emotional, mental, and psychological thoughts and behavior patterns. That's what I think. So for example, basically a mental wellness would be having somebody to talk to that can provide support and reassurance. It could be eating healthy. It could be exercising regularly. It could be trying new things. It could be, trying new foods or taking trips, exploring, adventures and stuff like that. Just like taking care of yourself in an all manner form, to the best of your ability mentally. So that's what I would say.
Beautiful. Oh my God. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And our very last question. So leave us with a little bit of advice for people escaping narcissists, for people who are maybe trapped or feel trapped in a narcissistic situation. Give us a little bit of advice for them.
Ooh, so advice that I would say is trust your gut, trust your intuition, know that, God wants the best for you. So if God is showing you a person's true colors, like you got to believe them unless you see that they're going to prove to you that it's possible for change. But people don't change for you, they change for themselves, So if you're seeing what this person is doing to you, what they're saying to you, how they're making you feel, you better believe them before it could get worse. And then also, healing doesn't happen overnight. Don't be afraid to reach out for help. It is not weak, I'm telling you, because I have so many people that saying like it's weak to reach out for help. Like I didn't want to like reach out to you because it's like, oh, I had to get help for a person. It's like, no, it's deeper than that. It's probably other wounds and traumas that, you haven't dealt with. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Uh-huh.
basically
Sorry,
that's basically
You said something, and I usually try to pluck something out of what the guest says as the title of the episode. And you said, people don't change for you, they change for themselves.
Yes.
And I had to write it down because that was a word.
Yes, it's true. It's true. You know, they don't change for you, they change for themselves. And if a person does not want to change, they don't want to grow, they don't want to expand, then that's their problem, you know. But you, the individual, you know something is not right, it's not healthy. And so you have to be the one, you got to do the work, and you have to leave that person behind. If they come back, cool. If they don't, you let it go. And then you just got to know your worth, and you got to know that you deserve better. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would say.
Absolutely. That and 100% reaching out for help is the best thing you can do for yourself.
Absolutely.
And as someone who struggles still to this day with just saying that I'm not okay sometimes, life is so much easier when you have that trusted person and you can just say, hey, I'm not doing okay right now.
Right.
Even if it's just one person, even if it's a therapist, a coworker, a parent, a partner, a friend, anybody.
Right.
If you have at least one person in your corner that you know that you can trust and you can just go to them and just crumble a little bit, it makes a world of difference. It makes a world of difference in life. I am so fortunate to have people on my team, in my corner, so many loved ones and people and friends.
Yeah.
And still, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay. I don't need it.
And you know what's crazy, Darius? Like, I remember one time when I was going through the healing recovery after dealing with the narcissist, right? And so I went to a counselor. It was for a year. It was for a whole year. And I remember in one of the sessions we had, and I wasn't doing well. Like, I was like still hurting. I was crying. Like, I literally woke up every day for 6 months straight and I would cry in the morning. And again, that was just my healing and recovery. Everybody's journey is different. But I'll never forget when I walked in and she was like, Joy, how you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm good. She was like, no, you're not. And I was like, you're right.
You have to call me out like that, but you're right.
Yeah. But I think, like you said, I think it's important to be able to just be like, I'm not okay. And that's fine. Like, you know, so just being real with yourself and not lying. Because I feel like we do lie to ourselves. You know, some of us, we could be delusional just because, you know, whatever happened to us in the past, we want to be like, oh, I'm strong. You know, like you said, we don't need help. But it's like, no, we do. There's a lot of recovery that needs to happen. And it starts with you. You have to be the one. Like, we can't force anybody to want help. They have to want it themselves. So
yes. That part right there. They have to want it themselves. They have to. Yeah. They have to actively be the ones seeking the help. You can shout it at them until you're blue in the face, but it's not going to do anything if they're not wanting the help, if they're not desiring to be better.
Correct.
Yeah. That whole last bit, I'm over here like, wait a minute.
Like, trigger warning.
Right. You preaching today. Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
But no, I'll say I didn't really want to come off as a preacher, but I guess sometimes it just comes off like that. But yeah.
No, you just to me, and you know, as Black folk, we sometimes we just go and we have a spirituality about us, whether we are religious or not. Yeah. I'm not an incredibly religious person. I do believe in a higher power. I do believe in, you know, the universe and the energy and the tide and all of that. But no matter what your relationship with God or higher power or anything is, even if I know some Black people that are straight up just atheists, but they start talking and it's like, I know you don't believe in God, but you're preaching. But you're preaching right now. Like, it's just inherent in us as Black people to be these like spiritual leaders in a way. Absolutely. It's weird. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. And I love it.
Thank you.
Love it. One more time for the people, tell us your website and where we can find your book and any socials that you want to share.
Yes, absolutely. So my website is www.livenarcfree9. Oh, I said my email. Sorry. www.livenarcfree.com. That's my website. If you would like any service, any coaching, 90-day coaching program, or if you'd like to inquire about a support session, or reading. Oh, and the other thing is I do actually offer unbiased personal advice. So if anybody would like to learn more about that, that option is available. But in regards to my book, yes, I do have some reviews on that. So you can check out the reviews on Amazon to get a feel of it. It is available via ebook and paperback. I do recommend the paperback because it's like, you have your copy and stuff like that. But I don't know, like for me, I just feel like, the more knowledge our community has, the better future, not only for ourselves, but for our children and the people around us that could be suffering from this abuse and just having a difficult time, not knowing where to go, not knowing who to turn to. So I highly, highly recommend getting the book. It is affordable. It's only $20 or so. So you can definitely get that link Darius is going to give you guys. And yeah, so you can also email me too at livenarcfree9@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you and I would love to support you. But again, I'm not forcing anybody to do anything. I only want to help those that want to be helped, support those that want to be supported and that really want to make a change. Because that's for me. And that, like you asked me earlier, you was like, what got me on the journey? It was like, I was just tired of hurting. I was just like, I didn't know like what to do. And I just had that outlet, of YouTube. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to go on and share my story. And it helped so many people. And I was just like, okay, God, I see what you're doing. But yeah, so.
Yeah, like I said, it has been the most beautiful thing for me to share my story. Back in 2019, I'm looking at the poster on my wall because it's my crowning achievement. So I'm a theater artist.
Okay.
I act, I direct, I write plays.
Nice.
I do all those things. I'm a performer in that way. Song and dance.
Wow, cool.
So my healing moment, the thing that kind of led me to this podcast, was a play that I wrote called My Infinite Sadness. And it is a 2-person show. It's about my personal journey with depression and suicide attempts and all that. And before writing that play, I couldn't talk about my story without being choked up or crying. And I still get choked up and cry a little bit, but for different reasons, I believe. Back then, it was because I was still actively living in that pain.
Right.
And post My Infinite Sadness, finishing it, having it performed, producing it myself, it was like I got to watch my healing happen on stage.
Wow.
And it truly, so after every performance, we had a talk back and we brought a counselor in, a friend of mine, James Linson, brought him in. I actually should have him on the podcast. He would be great. Just thought about that. So I brought him in and we had a talk back with the cast and myself and Jamie and it was just such a beautiful healing moment, and people got to get advice and talk about things that they never knew or never understood about depression or suicide or anything like that. And that is what made me want to do this. It was what made me want to reach out and talk to people and help people tell their stories so that I know that somebody is getting something from every single episode of this podcast, because every person that I've brought on is so genuine and so beautiful in spirit, and just, it's magical. It's a magical thing to be able to share your story. So I thank you so very much, Joy.
Thank you too. Thank you so much for having me. You're so sweet. And I'm sorry to hear, that you had that attempt of suicide. I know that can be difficult. So I'm sorry to hear that. But I'm glad that you did it. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen. And I have this.
God was protecting you.
Yes, I have this tattoo, Chaos, with a semicolon.
Can you move it to the camera? I can't see it.
Can you see it?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right there. And
okay.
I have always wanted the word chaos tattooed on me, and I didn't really know why until after some other things happened in my life. And I was like, it's chaos with the semicolon specifically, because no matter what chaos is going on in my mind, I can always pause, reset, and keep going. So
yes, I love it.
Thank you. I'm healed and healing at the same time.
Yes.
Healed and healing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Joy, thank you so very much for being here today. Thank you. I'm so glad we finally got to meet. This is such a beautiful episode.
Yes, it's awesome. So awesome. And I hope that this can help many that's dealing with abuse. Again, don't be afraid to reach out. You're not alone. And God loves you. I love you. And yeah, it's going to get better. It's going to get better.
Yes, it absolutely is going to get better. And All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Again, thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode. If you want to find me, I'm at DDare Bionic on all social media. Like I said in the beginning, it's called branding. Look it up. And I also will link all of Joy's information down in the description box below as well, so you can find her and reach out for some of those amazing services that she offers. And I will be purchasing a copy of the book to read for myself.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, y'all. I will see you next Monday with a brand new guest. I love you all very much. Mwah. Bye.